And for guests, we've got Deb Postel. Okay, let's take a look at, we'll be starting at basically 6:02. Let's take a look at approval of the minutes from June 10th.
I move to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it. I also have a comment.
Okay,
On the second page, it is the Shannon, SCHANNEN farm, just for the record.
okay. So approve with correction on the spelling of Shannon. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okey dokey. And then our second item, consideration and possible action on the 2024 Commission on Aging Charter. And Catherine has left us copies of those for everyone, and I believe there's some out in front. And this is a charter that we are now having to do once a year as per the mayor. And I think most of the commissions, boards, and committees are a little behind on that, so we're not the only one. The changes that were made from last year's are in the red. And we're looking at, one of the changes is to the first Monday of the month at 6 o'clock here at City Hall, so that we can be broadcast and don't interfere with other groups. And then there's the updated listing for the 3-year terms, except for the alderman, that's a 1-year term. And there's a list in there of whose term comes up when.
Can I just interject something, Ann?
Sure.
I was working off a list I had, so I did not
Catherine, can you turn your mic on for me, please?
say it's on. Isn't a red light on? Okay. Sorry, apparently I hit another button. Okay, so the dates I have of your terms being up were what I had from last year's that I tried to work based on, being approved. So if I don't have the right dates, I did not get a chance to check with anybody at City Hall for that. So Alex, do you happen to know when the mayor told you your term would be up at all?
He didn't tell me.
Okay. Well, I figured if you were newly appointed in 2004 and they're 3-year terms rotating, so I put you down at 2027. Okay.
Okay, then the next change would be for personnel decision-making to the Senior Center Program Manager and Recreation Director with HR consultation.
And I'll just interject. The reason I did that was because of the contract instructors we hire and program leaders, that we do that internally. It's not a HR, but if it's a staff position, then it would be usually, the staff all involved. So I wanted to make sure that maybe that was clear if someone thought of a paid instructor as a staff. They're not a staff, but, we do that internal.
And then the obstacles, risks, and countermeasures to strategic responsibilities. We wanted to make sure in this section, it doesn't have to be something that you want to see particularly this year, but it's a way to let city government, city administrative types, depending on which area they're in, of course, give them an idea of what we're looking for and what we feel that we need for the senior center. So there's a lack of staff to manage major aspects of the operation and to delegate tasks in countermeasures so that the director has a chance to get to everything that he or she can get to possibly. And there are a lot of a lot of volunteers who help a great deal. And I don't know of too many people who go to the senior center who don't volunteer for something. But volunteers are sometimes difficult to get for organizations, and we don't want that to be a point from keeping us from growing. But I do thank all of those people who do come in and do help out with the volunteer of different programs. And then the design of the building is the mere fact that we basically need a newer, better one. So those are the changes there. And then in measures for success, we'd like to continue to see a monthly detailed financial statement of the city account summary. We know that they pay them and things, but Catherine always kept interesting figures on what was used for what particular program and what money was given to or earned by the senior center. And then earned, we do get money from different programs, and a certain amount goes back into the overall coffers for the senior center. So those are the changes from last year. And if there's any questions, I know, Alex, you might have a couple, unless you did get a chance to take a look at it earlier. So now we come to the fact of, do we want to use this as our action plan for 2024?
I'll just add a comment. When Ann and I met, based on where we were in the year, knowing we had to work on this, we opted to keep some of the same strategic goals. They aligned with some of the other key performance indicators that we had submitted for the city. So kind of trying to stay in line with all of the data. And then I think because it's easy to transpose numbers into something that people can easily see, that's why we kept some of our key performance indicators based around our things that we could easily quantify.
And the other thing too is if you all of a sudden up and change your key performance indicators, you won't be able to compare them to the previous years. So,
That's true.
so if everyone feels comfortable with this, I'm willing to hear a motion on it.
I make a motion to accept as presented.
I second the motion.
Motion is seconded for the commission and the charter. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay. All right, next is item 4, informational and discussion regarding senior center coverage and transition plan. Well, let's see, who do we look to for that? Catherine, or do we look over to you, Tyler?
I'm going to take this one.
Okay.
Thank you. So this has been an ever-changing and evolving plan. As most of you know, in addition to Catherine's retirement, the Recreation Department is also going to be temporarily losing our rec program manager as well. She will be out on maternity leave. And then recently, we also lost our administrative assistant at the rec department as well. She has moved on to bigger and better things for her family and her opportunities. So before I dive too far into kind of what we're looking at this time, I want to just kind of assure everybody that although this has been kind of being morphed and changed seemingly day by day, we've been working super hard as a staff to make sure that we provide a strong operational plan to continue services to the community of Port Washington. what I can tell you right now is Catherine has done a phenomenal job, as always, in planning and putting things together for us to be successful for the remainder of 2024. What that's going to allow us to do is, because so many of the pieces have already been kind of set out, we have instructors for our fitness classes, we have a lot of the bands and entertainment scheduled already for the remaining events and trips and things going for 2024. That allows staff that are in place at this time to begin planning for 2025. So we can use this year to ensure that 2025, there aren't any then lapses as well, as opposed to leaving our staff currently with not only completing plans for 2024, but then also looking forward to 2025. In the meantime, at this point in time, Catherine and I have been working to develop a training model for myself, along with the admin assistant over at the senior center, to ensure that all operational hours along with the volunteer schedule are covered. So the building schedule over at the senior center will remain the same. Like I said, the instructors for many of the ongoing programs are in place, so they will continue to work as scheduled. And then a lot of the larger or more spontaneous single-day events that Catherine took on, as well as the administrative work that Catherine took on, will be covered by myself, with the assistance of HR and admin at City Hall as needed. At this time, I am hopeful that we will be able to cover the majority of it. There's never a good time to lose someone who's been here for 25 years. But fortunately, things do slow down and become a little bit more manageable as we approach the end of summer. And so I'm confident that we'll be able to kind of pick up those pieces and maintain the level of service that we've been able to provide. There will be a level of office hours that I will be providing at the senior center. We are still finalizing those. I don't have those exact hours for you at this time, but Beth will have fairly modified number hours. For the most part, those will stay the same, but she has modified them slightly to give us a little bit more staffing coverage. And then I will be providing some office hours over there as well, both for questions and relationship building, administrative work, and coverage in that sense. The volunteers have always done a fabulous job of providing office coverage, so we're in really good shape with some really experienced volunteers that kind of know their roles and know what they have to do and what their strengths and what their needs are. So that's going to be really good. One of the things we did want to put into place is a safety procedure for those volunteers, knowing that they may be in the building on their own a little bit more than what we're used to. And so we've drafted a procedure so that way, especially if they're closing the building and the last one's out of the building, that there's something in place to ensure that they get home and out of the building safely. So that procedure has been drafted. We will be reviewing the plan in full detail along with the new closing procedure with the personnel committee at their next meeting, I believe August 14th, correct, Deb? I believe it's August 14th, but I will get you an update on that as soon as I know that. So.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Tyler?
I've got an easy one. In other words, the open hours for the center aren't proposed to be changed.
Correct. Nothing will change with the open building hours.
Thank you.
So can I just elaborate too on the plan? So based on when I decided I wanted to retire, I knew I was at a point I would have to plan or not plan. So we kept in place everything that was already pre-planned on the calendar, all the usual activities. So that was the intent, so that there wouldn't be like a big disruption to everybody. What will change will be some of those monthly special events aren't going to be in place each month, other than September, because we'd already booked things that we're wrapping into our senior center month celebration. So those few extra programs are on there. And then I think there might have been one that hangs out, it's annual with the county for the power of attorney for healthcare in October. And then we're going to try to wrap up with the Christmas luncheon in December. So really, it'll be the main structure, day-to-day, all the regular. If you're a cribbage player, you're going to be coming for cribbage. If you're a sheep's head player, 9-ball, whatever it might be, the exercise classes, that base structure is what we're trying to maintain, because that is part of the backbone of the senior center, is getting everybody there. So
Okay, then we'll move on to chairman's business. And we'll take a look at commit to connect is which particular one? I thought maybe we were,
So, in part of my year this year, I had signed up for a webinar that just didn't fit in the schedule, and it was called Commit to Connect Social Engagement. It's kind of a new area for seniors. I think coming out of COVID, everybody really recognized the social and, in some cases, mental health changes among seniors not being connected. So there's a national movement to look at ways to keep people connected. So I had forwarded the information on to Ann, and she thought it looked good. So she's kind of looking into it a little bit, and then as things come up or new directions possibly, that might be something to consider. Trying to find a way to connect more with seniors who, kind of stay isolated, and then when it gets to a point where they really need the help, they're struggling because they don't know where to go, how to get there. They don't feel comfortable coming in. So it's just one way maybe down the road to engage seniors before they get to that point of really needing the connection. So it's a national program, and we just haven't had a chance to totally adapt or adjust or see where it might fit in our schedule because of my retirement. So Ann said it looked good, and she thought, well, she'd have it on the agenda so we could bring it to your forefront. So if you're reading an article or seeing something, you can maybe shoot it to Ann, along that line, and we'll try to get that information and maybe send that link to everybody else on the commission to take a look at it if you got time. So I think, did I CC you, Tyler, on the link? Okay. So I'll make a note to send it out.
and it could also be a way to start pulling in some of the younger retired or age-eligible people in the community, because we know that there's some that we haven't been able to connect with. Then we'll move on to the members and liaisons business. Tyler, how about the upcoming retirement program?
Yes, so I want to take a moment during this meeting to thank and express gratitude to Catherine Keener, our Senior Center Program Manager, for her many, many years of service to the community. She has been such an asset to the city and to its residents and the members of the Senior Center, and all the work and dedication and sacrifices her and her family have made. So really appreciate everything that you have done. It's going to be certainly difficult for the city to find someone to fill that seat, but I just can't express enough how much everything you've done and has been appreciated within the community. So thank you for all that you've done. To show gratitude and express this next chapter, the city is planning a luncheon for Catherine on August 14th from 11:30 to 1 o'clock p.m. at the Community Senior Center. So we welcome those who, I believe that is the invite one. So anybody who got an invitation to the August 14th luncheon to celebrate Catherine's retirement, I would encourage you to come out and express your gratitude and thanks. And then I believe I will pass it on to Catherine, because I believe there was a second luncheon planned for August 15th, correct?
That's correct. So based on, space, and if I was trying to do numbers in my head, if half of this group comes and half of that group, and, we might be close to the numbers the city was planning on. So some of the members and the board had wanted to recognize me as well. So they pivoted, and on Thursday, the 15th, we're working with the county ADRC, and the Friends is going to pick up the cost for the lunch, so there's no donation, and it'll be a lunch then for all the members or anybody who can't make, Wednesday. So some of the, I know volunteers on the groups that are invited Wednesday said, oh, I can't make it, but I can be there Thursday. So there'll be a little bit of a mix. But that way, it opens it up to all the members, that want to make it to say thanks and farewell, and I'll see them as a participant.
Yes, so thank you to the Friends for that, so we can ensure that everybody that wants to express their gratitude and show how much Catherine has meant in their lives for getting that second luncheon put together. We really appreciate them for doing that. And again, thank you, Catherine, for everything that you've done.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. Okay, come on. You don't want me to cry on this now that we're finally live and posted.
Well, that's just round one. Then we're up to program manager report. Catherine, information and update on wellness instructor.
Okay. We had our new wellness instructor has come in and started. She's a new resident in the city of Port Washington and had come to me in the spring when we were still trying to fill positions after our intern left. And she will be our main Tuesday chair yoga instructor. Her name is Heidi Jaffe. And Heidi has an interest in possibly getting some other background and certifications to possibly look into our circuit training. So Tyler and I had a chance to talk a little bit today that once she gets established there, if there's room, she's open to do more for the city. So we at least want to get the core program set. So the one we don't have set yet is our Zumba Gold. Finding those particularly trained instructors is sometimes a little more difficult, but we're still working on it, and maybe that'll come down the line. But in the meantime, some of the core ladies are still coming in because we have our DVDs not only from Zumba but our previous instructor, so they can utilize that program.
Catherine? Is, yes, I am on. Is Katie, or is Heidi starting?
Yes, Heidi's starting this month. So
Okay.
we have the instructor that was subbing for the month of June and July also teaches in Cedarburg, and she is going on a visit to family in another part of the world. So she will be unavailable for a couple months, but she is happy to come back as a sub for us. So I will make sure that Tyler has that information. So we have one instructor who's available on Thursday, who also not only teaches for us, but teaches in Germantown and I believe a class in Jackson or Hartford area. So we try to share when we can instructors if they're available. So I'm just happy that we finally have that and can build those groups back up. And summer's always a hard time to evaluate numbers because of people traveling and, they're maybe taking more time with grandkids and things. So, but we hope to get back up to, 10 to 14 regular people on both those days.
Okay, then our next is information and updates on events and programs.
Okay, coming up, our 8-Ball group has their annual meeting on August 21st. So they will be voting in new officers and then following up with their luncheon. Typically, they would have had a playoff, but based on numbers, their season ended a little shorter. So they'll just have open play after the meeting time. And hopefully that'll go smoothly with trying to fit into the structure and taking off a new season. We do know they'll have a new secretary coming on board. So we're hoping that things will just smooth out with some of the communications.
Catherine, if you could you give me the high and the low as far as participation that we've had with 8-Ball?
So summer's usually always lower. Historically, our average in the summer would be 20, and the fall, winter would be from 24 to 30 would be the high. So this summer, I think we only had 16 in it. I'd have to look back.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
It might have been 20. Might be 16 in the 9-ball.
Okay, our concert in the park.
Okay, so coming up, a little history since Alex is newer on here, and for anybody who wasn't aware, when we used to have Ozaki Bank in the area, they had wanted to do something for the community, and they were doing a ice cream social somewhere else. And I said, well, why don't we do a concert? And if you want to serve ice cream, go ahead. So it started with Ozaki Bank, and then they had to kind of bow out, and everybody really enjoyed it. So we reached out and decided to keep it as an annual event for the center with sponsorship. So our main sponsors for the band are the Port Washington Saukville Rotary Club, Port Washington State Bank, and then the ice cream is sponsored by Barb Beatty, Beatty Janashek Realty Group, and then the Friends of the Port Senior Center. So, of course, with the city help for using the park and those type of things. So we're excited to bring back Our House for the third year. It's been a popular group. We were kind of the first ones to hold them, and word got out, people liked them. So there was a beer garden that year that booked them, and now I saw they've been back for Fish Day. So they also like playing in Port, so that kind of helps. And they drew a bigger crowd last year. We had over 130, I think it was, or somewhere in there. We usually will get around 100. It just, it depends on the day, who's traveling, what's going on. So we're hoping to hit that 130 mark again this year with the event. So it's open. We do bill it for seniors. We're not going to turn away someone if they bring their grandkids, but the focus is seniors. So we're hoping this year, we did send out the posters and the invites again to our senior communities in town where they live in apartments or other facilities, because it's a nice opportunity for them to bring people out. So from 1 until 3 on Thursday, August 22nd. The challenge will be due to the project at the water treatment plant, access, via Lake Street? This is really
Yes.
bad. Yep, Lake Street may be a little bit tricky, so maybe people might have to come down through the park. We don't have an update yet because it's still a couple weeks away. But whenever we know anything, we'll try to get it out there and posted.
Okey doke. And then September Senior Month?
Okay, so I was asked by Melissa to give her some information for a proclamation. So it's my understanding that the first council meeting in September, she intends to do a proclamation declaring September Senior Center Month in the city of Port, which is kind of exciting because it's nice to have. We have had them over the years, sometimes different mayors. So this will be the first one with a new city administrator on board. So we're looking forward to that publicity as well for the community to remind them what we have going on. And then we're packaging under the theme for Senior Center Month, which is Senior Centers, the Power of Connections. So we're kind of focusing on the connections you can make in art, connections you can make with your health, connections you can make, in aging areas, learning more about Medicare, especially for that younger group that we are always trying to bring in. We'll have a presentation with the county for Welcome to Medicare on Wednesday, September 25th from, I want to make sure I get the time right, 4:30 to 6:30. So it's a good time for people that are out of work early and want that leg up on what to know about Medicare when they get to that age. So they've been fairly well attended, as far as some of the publicity goes. So we're looking forward to that. So that's the theme, and that's what we're wrapping into that theme. Unfortunately, the poster hasn't come out. Usually they give us a poster so we can personalize it with some of our pictures, but that hasn't come out from national yet. So if we do, we'll.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the theme?
The theme, Power of Connection, or powering senior centers, powering connections. So we're taking it further, powering connections to art, powering connections to health, and powering connections to just aging information. I think I said it better somewhere else, but I forgot to make the notes here, so watch for the poster.
Usually about this time, we have a report from John as our elected official. It's not on this particular one, but I think,
Want the really good news?
sure.
I don't have a report anyway.
Well, we'll put you on for the next meeting.
I guess I will say one thing. I can't go totally off base. Does the does the senior center board and the Friends ever meet together?
We have some people that have overlapped. We have not had a direct meeting together, partly because I've been, the same, I've been a long-time person. I started the Friends. I was the director that worked with them, so I usually bring that information to the board. So going forward, it's something that we might look into, is having that occasionally.
It just seems like a logical thing to do. I mean, I remember when Tony Brown came here, he said, why do we have a senior center board and a commission on aging? And you went through that entire discussion. Well, then you also have the Friends, okay? Well, the reality is that the commission really handles what I call the city end of the seniors, and the senior board and the Friends really handle the operation of the center on more of a day-to-day basis. So I would like to see them meet together maybe quarterly or something, because I think it could build some synergy. They probably have more in common than they think,
Right.
okay?
Well, and to clarify, the Friends was started to be the 501c3 ability for people to make larger donations, knowing that the senior center needed to modernize, and going forward, that potentially there might be the opportunity for the Friends to assist the city whenever they do that. So that's more their focus has been than supporting the other programs that exist. So being a foundation. So they don't deal with operations. That's pretty much like the board takes all that internal operations, So if there's an issue of, I want this program on this day, and I've got people coming to me, I'll take it to the board and I say, okay, we've got this program's established. Here's our form. Here's where we have the space, to give them a voice so that they have some, response. So it's only where they can give a voice. Anything that's going to interact with the city, obviously that's going to come a staff decision. But but meeting together would be helpful to just so they know if the Friends, not the Friends, but if the board, were to work with the new person and in the interim Tyler and say, hey, we could do this great idea. Do we have any funding for it? That's where the Friends would come in to come and assist with that.
Yeah, so this is something that we can talk about further at a meeting. If you guys would like, we can get it on the agenda to be talked about further. It is something that we are evaluating as a city as to how to best kind of utilize all of the resources that we have. In terms of Ann's question with elected official reports, the templates that's being used tonight is something that's being used across all BCCs. So I'll make a note for the city administrator to see if that's something that should be included on the templates. But at this time, this is kind of the format that the BCCs are following. So.
Okay, then our next is public comments and appearances. And we have none of those tonight, so we will move on. Now, excuse me.
I just have a question. Is there any space on the template? I see we have no old business reference, no new business reference. So I have a couple concerns and questions. So when does that come about? Or I don't know who to address that to.
Yeah, so
I can be public appearance if you want me to be.
So generally that would fall under like a commission request is how that's been seen on previous agendas. In terms of how that'll be addressed going forward is if there's items that are actionable or that have been requested by the board, those would be listed as generalized items on the agenda. So similar to items like 2 and 3, it would just be listed as an item until it's actioned upon.
Okay.
But otherwise, if it's just old business that, like for example, tonight's information and update on senior center coverage, that may or may not be part of your next meeting, depending on whether or not it has either been resolved itself on the city personnel or council end of things, or it could be brought back to you if further action needs to be taken on it.
Okay, so then who do we send the information to? Let's say that Pat comes up with an idea that he wants to address in the meeting. Does he send you an email?
Yep.
For
so
now.
yeah, for now, any items that you guys would like on the agenda, whether that's because it's an old business item or something new that you guys would like addressed, you would email me and we'll discuss how that gets put on the agenda in terms of appropriate language. If it needs a memo, any handout packets that would be included on that, we would get it on the agenda for you guys to be talked about.
Okay.
Can I make reference to any of this here tonight?
No, not in accordance to it not being on the agenda.
What if it is the agenda, is my question.
I guess let me know what do you have, and then we can.
Well, the old and new business, okay. We have no financials referenced. We always cover the financials on a monthly basis. There's nothing here. And on the charter that we just accepted to review monthly detailed financial summary and city accounts with the commission at a monthly meeting, which is the way it's always been. So I would just question that in the future, and hopefully we would continue to do that.
Sure. Yeah, so that's something that we can put on the agenda. Generally, I would put that under like where the program manager report would be. So that'll come from me going forward
So we will
under a
continue to
report. Yep,
do the financials on a monthly basis?
we absolutely can do that. Yep.
Okay. And then regards, I'm going to jump ahead to the next meeting. I see that it's October. What about September?
So
Missed July.
Yep. So our September meeting would fall on. So I'll be talking about that when we get to next meeting. But
One of the issues of moving this meeting to a Monday,
The first Monday of the month.
you know, so.
so yeah, that unfortunately was with that decision. The first Monday in September falls on Labor Day.
We can't move it to the second or third.
We could do a special meeting if you'd like to. We can. That's something we would talk about. Kind of, we would email and get a date that works for everybody, and we can schedule a special meeting.
That's what we have done in the past when we couldn't have our date for whatever reason. And that seemed to work pretty good. And I'm assuming, and I should not do that, that we will be staying on a monthly schedule?
Yeah. Yep. So the only reason there's not a September meeting is just because of the holiday. So if that's something you guys want to discuss, is having a special meeting in September, Ann and I can work on what that might look like, come up with some date options for you guys, and then we would send something out, see what works for the majority to confirm we would have a quorum at that meeting, make sure that it works for council chambers to make sure that it'll be live streamed, and then we would get it scheduled and run with a special meeting.
Okay.
My next one is, I see public comments is way down in, I don't know, CD. It should be 7, 8, 9.
Oh yeah, the formatting switched over to numbers. I
But,
apologize for that.
I'm used to public comments up in the beginning. Nobody wants to stay at the end. They usually leave and don't say anything. If you run it at the end, is there any way we can move it up to the beginning? Those common council meetings that I'm aware of, other meetings generally are, in the beginning. So I guess I'm questioning this format.
Yes.
Seem applicable to us.
Yeah, so I can bring that up to City Hall and see what they want to do about it.
Does the common council push it at the end like this?
This is the format that everybody's using right now.
We have done both.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other thing that can happen is somebody can make a motion to move the item up on the agenda.
I would make a motion to move the item up.
Well, right.
But if you do that, the public doesn't know that.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't understand the change.
Yeah, I'll bring it up to
Everybody's
City Hall to
aware
see
of
if they
that.
want to make a change to the template. But then if there are people in the audience, then somebody could move to have them moved up so that way they don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Last one is the person that leads this committee is referred to as the chairperson, correct? As opposed to item 5? I'll just leave it at that.
Oh,
Oh,
now
sure.
the chairman, chairperson.
Thank you.
Okay, then our next meeting should be Monday, October 7th, 2024, 6 PM, right here, unless you receive an email saying that we were able to schedule something for September.
Correct.
Okay, so I will accept a motion for adjournment.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.